If you've been thinking about moving to Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers, somewhere in between, well, this is my top list of why you shouldn't move here. So the first one we're going to talk about is traffic. Okay, so everywhere has traffic, and traffic is a relative term. You know, traffic in LA, where you're sitting there for hours and hours and maybe days, that doesn't happen here. Traffic adds maybe 15 to 20 minutes to your commute, depending on, if there's just normal traffic, yeah, that's how much time it's going to add. But if there's a wreck, it's going to add more. We do have a really good interstate that goes north to south, and it's 70 miles an hour, 65 to 70 miles an hour, all the way up and down from Bella Vista to the border, all the way to South Fayetteville, border of Missouri to South Fayetteville. And you can get places really quickly. It's 3 lanes on both sides. Great interstate. Glad they got that finished up. But if you're going east to west in Northwest Arkansas, you're hitting lights, you're hitting traffic, you're hitting. It's just a lot slower. There's no interstates going east and west or bypasses going east and west yet, and so that can be troublesome. Now I've learned that traffic patterns, and if I need to be somewhere at 8, I'm going to leave at 7 o'clock. Just because I know I'm going to get there maybe 20 minutes early, but I'm not going to be sitting in traffic for that 20 minutes risking being late. And so you just learn traffic patterns like anywhere else. So it's really not that bad, but it still drives me nuts that if I forget some mornings and I leave at 7:30 and I'm supposed to be there at 8:15, I'm probably going to be late. Number 2 is going to be the seasons. Let's talk about winter. It's winter right now. It's January. Now, it's snowed several times this year already during the winter. That's been fun. And then it's also got really, really cold. We had that national once-in-a-lifetime storm that came through. That was bitterly cold, and it wasn't that bad here compared to like Buffalo, where they got 48 inches of powder. But it was cold. That was inconvenient. Boo-hoo. And the other day I rode my bike 2 miles down the road to the grocery store, and it was 40 degrees outside and my face got frozen off. But so winter around here can be a little chilly. It comes and goes, because this whole next week it's going to be 50 degrees, and then it's going to peak at 60, and then we have another storm coming and it's going to be back in the 20s. So it gives and takes. Winter's not terribly bad. Now spring for about 3 weeks, when all the trees start blooming, we have a bunch of deciduous trees that turn colors in the fall, great, but the spring, the leaves release all their pollen. Everything's covered in this orange yellow mist. If your car's outside, it's getting painted orange by the end of the spring, and it is just kind of gross. It's kind of, everybody's sneezing, everybody's walking around with like puffy faces and blowing their nose like, sorry, allergies, and that's just the fact of life here. Now, you can take some meds and you'll be fine. Depends on what you take. But it's still frustrating. You can't leave your window open. Otherwise, your whole house will just be dusted and orange. So there's some caution there, especially if you live out in the woods or out in the country. We did that one year, and we came back home, and our dog, who was black, even was covered in orange powder. And we're like, oh gosh, it looks like a Cheeto bag exploded in our house. So caution to that. Summers are pretty good, but then there's probably about a 60-day period where it gets really, really hot. Now, granted, that's a relative term. Again, I'm from Washington State, where when it got to 90, it was like, oh my gosh, this is miserable. Well, when it gets to about 100 around here for 21 days straight, like it did last year, that was really uncomfortable. I didn't like that. I was complaining, and I was probably a little bit more moody than I needed to be. And that's all just because of the heat. Yeah, so if you're from a warmer place or a more humid place, this will be easy peasy for you. And I'm just trying to be real with you. And then fall is glorious. Fall is absolutely the best time. So from September all the way to November, sometimes in December, is absolutely just like the perfect time of year. The leaves are changing. You might have a rainstorm here and there, and it's just absolutely ideal. So the seasons around here is number 2. Number 3 is bugs, and rather applying bug spray, preparing for bugs. If you're going to go hiking out in the woods, oh my gosh, you have to put on layers and layers of DEET and whatever bug repellent that you use, organic or chemical, whatever it is, you better layer up on that stuff and then put long pants on and long sleeve shirt. And if it's summer, you just don't go hiking because the bugs are out, the heat's out, and you better bring like 3 gallons of water with you, which, man, that's just not, for Brent, that's not capable. That's not a possible thing. That's not what I'm going to be doing during the high summer, is going around hiking, unless it's hiking to a waterfall or hiking to a lake where I can get wet afterwards and cool down. Then I'll be on board. But bugs around here, you got chiggers, you got ticks, so just be careful with those. Prepare before you go out in the woods. Even walking around, I've shown some houses before where they didn't mow the grass for a couple weeks, and the next day, like, the kids were running around in the grass, and the next day the kids had some chigger bites and they were all itchy. So just be cautious, be mindful. Just because you've never experienced them doesn't mean that they're not there. We're not making this stuff up. They are real. They are terrible little bugs. I don't know why God created them. A little side note on chiggers. There's a few bugs that eat them, but also like chickens and other animals, they keep ticks away. So if you're looking to move out into the country, chickens is a really good resource. Guineas are another one. They're kind of like a smaller version of a chicken, and they lay smaller eggs, and they are pretty quiet. But the mess is still the same for guineas versus chickens. Now be sure to reach out to us so that we can connect with you. We'd love to chat with you, hear your story, and answer your questions about Northwest Arkansas, where the right area is for your family, connecting with the right schools and the right restaurants and good shopping and all this stuff. We would love to inform you and help you out with that decision. My fourth item would be unique restaurants. Now we have some good restaurants. My wife and I like going to eat at these places. Some Thai restaurants, some sushi restaurants, some good Italian. But just the wide variety. If you go to Kansas City, you have a plethora of variety of options of ethnic foods, fine dining, really unique places. We don't have that here yet. We have a good selection, and those are good restaurants, but the wide variety that you're going to get in a larger metropolitan area, we just don't have yet. So if you're a restaurateur, a restaurant owner, please talk to us. We'd love to have you here. We'll find a space for you in your restaurant, and we'd love for you to start up your awesome cuisine, and I will eat there often. So number 5 will be state income tax. Now, it peaks out at like 6.9%, which is really frustrating, and it's a tiered system based on how much you make. But one thing our new governor said she's going to get rid of is our state income tax. So the more money you make, the more you keep in your pocket. Now the Fed's going to still take their portion for income tax, but the state is going to keep their grubby little hands out of it. Hopefully that will get changed. Number 6 is U of A events and large events in this area. We have like Walmart shareholders, we have Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, we have a big craft fair in October. There's a bunch of other events, and then when you have Razorback football games, the stadium holds like 80,000 people, and if it's a really big game, that stadium's getting packed up. Last year there was a Garth Brooks concert, and man, traffic was terrible for like 2 days because there was 80,000 people in town for that concert, and he packed out the entire stadium, and it probably was a great time, but my goodness, it was a big deal for traffic. So it kind of goes back to number 1 with traffic, but also, I get it that it provides a lot of revenue for the state, for the area, it keeps a lot of people employed, but I'm just telling you what bothers me and what frustrates me, and regardless of the consequences of what it is, it's still a frustration, and it's something that I don't like, but I do like. So it's kind of a both. And the U of A events, all these bigger events that come to town, yes, it's good for our economy, but it's still a frustration because all of a sudden it seems like it pops out of nowhere and I don't realize that it's coming, and then I'm trying to get somewhere and I'm going to be late to something. So really that number 6 can be just ruled down to Brent not planning and paying attention enough. So number 7 is kind of a more serious one. Out in the rural areas of Arkansas, heading east and more into the lowlands area of Arkansas. Actually, right over here in this area of Arkansas, it is sadly known as the meth capital of the United States. I don't really want to claim that, but I've heard that a few times. I've seen some statistics about that. And yes, if you go out into the woods and you find a trailer and that's the only thing on the property, take extreme caution. That does happen. I've yet to come across that, but I've had many other agents who sell a lot of land, a lot of farmland out in that side of the state, that they've told me stories about just coming up across a meth lab or something like that, and you're going to find that. You're going to find drugs in a lot of states, and every state. Sadly, that's just a fact of life of what we have to deal with in this state and what we have to be known for. My final one is expansion and growth. Now, this bothers me because I love Northwest Arkansas. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's got a good population. Like I said, we could have a few more restaurants. Yeah, if you want to bring your restaurant over here, that'd be great. But the expansion of it constantly getting bigger, the construction that's constantly going on, and I get that. I know you're going to be like, hey, don't stop complaining about growth that's providing jobs for all these people. I get that, and I'm acknowledging that. I'm just being selfish, and I'm telling you what my list is, that the growth and the expansion, because I don't want this small town feel to go away. And that's what I want you to experience if you're moving here. Please reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. Days, nights, weekends, whatever. Phone call, text, email. Send us a pigeon, a smoke signal, whatever you got. We'd love to chat with you. But with the expansion and growth in this area, it just frustrates me that eventually that small town feel, what makes Fayetteville feel this way right now, is going to probably fade away at some point. And maybe when you move here, it'll feel that small town feel because you're moving from somewhere bigger, and that's a relative aspect that you're going to experience. So that's the entire list of everything I don't like about Northwest Arkansas. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'd love to chat with you and hear your story and answer anything you've got coming at us. Until the next video.